article on CBSSports.com where they had their NFL experts grade the general managers in the league. They graded them on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 meaning safe and secure.
Okay.
2 meaning all good for now. 3 meaning pressure is mounting. 4 meaning start improving now. And 5 meaning as good as fired.
Okay.
All right.
If you have a 5, you better you better have your LinkedIn profile updated, ready to rock.
You're looking at Zillow so hard.
Oh, yeah, you're definitely you got a bunch of realtors lined up. Yeah, you're switching the kids' schools. You're doing the whole thing.
So there are 4
You're on the move.
So when that was all said and done, and they did their grading, they then separated them into 4 tiers. And we put up our Junkies poll of the day based on this article. And would love for you to chime in at 1-800-636-1067. The tiers are perfectly safe, not much to worry about, radar is up, and maybe have a bag packed. Where does Adam Peters fall? Last year, 100% he would be in the top tier, which is perfectly safe.
He would have been firmly planted in that territory last year.
The next tier is not much to worry about. The third tier is radar is up. And the fourth tier maybe have a bag packed. There's no way you can say maybe have a bag packed unless you're just a hater.
I don't think there's one. I don't think even the most irrational Commanders fan would put him in tier 4.
If you need to see it visually, you can vote on our Junkies poll of the day sponsored by Surfside. Use the code JUNKS, Junks, at store.statesidevodka.com to get 50% off select merch. That means tees, hats, hoodies, and more. Use that code JUNKS at store.statesidevodka.com. So I think, and I've already seen the early voting, most people are going not much to worry about. But I think some people might go radar is up.
Now he is in the CBSSports.com article. He is in the tier 2, not much to worry about. But he's toward the bottom of that tier with a score of 1.71. I feel like he should be in tier 3, radar is up.
All right, so I
feel like he should be bumped down to tier 3 from tier 2.
All right, let's look at his biggest decisions.
So early.
Let's look at his biggest decisions. Number one, his job.
Maybe it's recency effect.
He's had a year and a half.
His biggest decision was drafting the quarterback.
Right.
That's a hit.
Yeah.
All right, Jade, that's his biggest number one job of pretty much any GM. If you don't have a franchise quarterback, is find your franchise quarterback. I think we'd all agree he found the franchise quarterback.
Yes.
Nobody's can stay healthy.
Nobody's disputing that.
100%.
Yes.
But again, you're picking at number 2. You should be able, like if you do your due diligence, you should be able to find the right quarterback.
Okay, but we see.
I know there have been misses all over the place at
top quarterbacks. It's like a 50% hit on first round. All right, so let's look at the number 1 pick this year. They took Connerly.
That one is a question mark.
But at the last 3 games, if you look at some of those grades, he's played much better. And he's a rookie tackle.
Still a question mark, though. He's given up a ton of sacks, like relative to his position.
If you want to chime in, 1-800-636-1067. So those are the first.
He was also picked, I believe, 2 or 3 picks prior to Josh Simmons, who looks like a fixture on the offensive line already as a rookie in Kansas City. So the
Amos pick was a good pick, I think.
I think that was a very solid
if we want to start getting into the second round picks, history of second round picks. Johnny Newton. We just talked about
Mixed bag.
Ben Sinnott.
It's just too early. Just hasn't had the impact that you would expect.
I mean, you can't right now unless he's the greatest blocking tight end in the league. You can't say that Sinnott is a hit at this point.
I think that Sinnott just is still incomplete. I'm not willing to commit either way.
Well, the truth is, all of them are incomplete.
I think when you've played a lot and you haven't, like Johnny Newton, I'm starting to get a fairly complete picture.
Sinnott is incomplete, but the early returns, I think you could agree, not positive.
I don't think they're necessarily negative. They're a little underwhelming.
Otherwise, he'd be on the field already.
But Zach Ertz just beat him out.
Well, that's damning because Zach Ertz doesn't look great at this point. He was really good last year.
Yeah.
Now that also was a year where Jaden Daniels was on the field for most every game.
My question is for the people like Eric who are like, well, it's only been a year and a half. Well, when are you allowed to start filling out the report card?
You're allowed to grade him right now.
Well,
I just think though that it's not. I don't think you're allowed to fire him yet.
No, I'm
like
not
even
talking
if
about
you
firing
said
him.
if he whiffed on everything, I think it's too early to fire a guy.
I'm not
a year
saying
and a half
firing,
in. But you're
I-
definitely allowed to grade him. Go for it.
My radar is up. He would be bumped down to that radar.
Well,
is
no,
up
well,
tier.
Eric's saying it's just too early to tell. I'm not saying. Well, when can we tell? When is the jury
I
out?
don't know. I think you know it when you see it. I mean, I don't know. I don't know the answer.
I would
don't have
say-
a hard and fast
I would
rule.
say
I think
after-
the guy in New
After
York,
3 full
fire his
seasons,
ass.
I think after 3 full seasons, you have a very good beat on a player. Every once in a while, a guy will blossom in year 4, year 5, year 6. But I think after 3 full seasons, you kind of know what you have.
And then for GMs, like let's say Adam Peters crushed next year's draft, right? How long does that equity last for? Or you know what I mean?
Yeah, probably a couple seasons.
It does buy you some time. I know you don't want it to buy you time, but I think it does buy you some time.
All right, let me just...
Let me also say, though, I think it's pretty clear. His biggest miss was Lattimore.
Well, hold up. Let's go through it kind of systematically.
Well, I
All
mean,
right,
it's pretty obvious.
We're
what
going through the
hits and
first round
misses are.
picks. So second round picks last year, Johnny Newton, Sandra Still, and Ben Sinnott.
Sanders still is eyebrows raised on him big time.
Out of the gates hot as a rookie, regressed in year 2.
Although he rated very highly last week, even though he had two huge.
I would give him a 0 for last week just because of the punt return.
The punt return and the drop interception were bad.
That eliminates any good that he did in the entire game.
He had rated very highly in his coverage.
I don't care about the rest of his game. He let the game slip through his fingers by muffing that.
Well, just
punt.
don't let him anywhere near a punt. I would never let him near a punt.
Never again. Never ever again.
Yeah.
Just can't do it.
All right.
But people were see that's the thing is that people flip because like last year people were raving about him.
Okay.
Last year people were raving about the
players
Ertz
can regress.
Last year people were raving about
they can get worse
for sure.
instead of getting
but I'm
better.
just saying that you can't always predict. Okay, he's going to have a great first year and then a terrible. Like those are very hard to predict.
Right.
Yeah,
so I mean, he gets credit for that. Like when he brought in Chin, when he brought in Bobby Wagner, when he brought in Ertz, when he signed or drafted Jaden. I mean, all those things hit. This year, everything's just like going backwards.
Yes and no. I mean, they're a hit. So I kind of want to focus on the draft. So second round picks we've gone through. This year, the second round pick was Trey Amos.
I think most people think that's
I think he was
hit.
solid until he got injured.
And what I'd say about Sanders still is he's a starter. Like to me, if you're a starter, that's a hit. Maybe he's not playing as good as he did last year, but he's a starter. To me, if you draft a guy who's a starter, that's a hit.
Yeah, but if you keep regressing, you might not be a starter that much longer.
All right, so this year's draft was a lot less. But last year, you drafted Brandon Coleman in the 3rd round. You drafted Luke McCaffrey. These are contributors. Like people can say, well, they're not as good as they want. Coleman started last year, is filled in this year.
Right.
And they kind of slid back in the depth chart this year, but it's a contributor.
They didn't expect Coleman to get beat up by Chris Paul, and that's what happened.
Yeah.
He's become a depth piece, and you spent a 3rd round pick on a depth offensive lineman.
So then this year, kind of in the 4th round, they draft Jalen Lane because they didn't have a 3rd round pick.
I like Jalen Lane, and I think relative to where he was drafted, you're probably getting about what you would think.
And then I'm just going to kind of lump in all of the later round draft choices, so 5th and beyond. This year was Kane Medrano and Bill, Corey Croskey-Merritt. Bill's a contributor. Medrano doesn't do much except for special teams. Last year you had McGee, who we're starting to see more at linebacker. You had Hampton, he's not part of the team, and then you had Batiste, who's hurt.
Batiste was very highly rated.
I think just if we're just looking at the draft, I think he's a solid B. Like people can say,
a lot of it's carried though by Jaden Daniels.
Okay, but
it's very top heavy. I think
most of the guys are on the roster.
Okay, but they are on the roster because those guys always get the benefit of the doubt because they're picked by this regime.
They're contributors.
I'd say it's a. I'd say it's like a B trending B minus.
Okay, that might be fair.
It's not super high B.
I think you got potentially a tackle of the future in Connerly. You have your franchise quarterback. You've got a couple guys in the secondary who are starters, and then the rest of them are kind of contributors. And who knows? Bill and Jalen Lane might be contributors for a long time. They've flashed at times. All right, so now let's get into the trades. The big trades. Obviously, Marshawn Lattimore, a big whiff. Tunsil's been a big hit.
Well, hold on. Yeah, I would say this on the Lattimore thing. I don't mind the swing. I don't mind the idea. It was good on paper. It was a miss. You're not going to hit on all of them. He missed.
And then I think that the Debo thing is a hit.
I think a relative hit. It was more of like a single or a double more than a home run. We're hoping for a little bit more. He's been good.
It's been good.
He hasn't been great.
It's been commensurate with the pick that they gave up. They gave up a 5th rounder. So you didn't like really risk a lot to get Debo. And I'd say it's about the level of the pick that you sent to the Niners in exchange.
I think he's been better than a typical 5th rounder.
Yeah.
You know what? So the 4 tiers again, if you want to chime in, 1-800-636-1067. Perfectly safe, not much to worry about. Radar is up. Maybe have a bag pack.
Their leading
to
receiver.
me,
He's got 5 touchdowns.
To me, Adam Peters is perfectly safe. He's in year 2.
Oh, I don't.
We all expected it to be.
We
all expected it to be 3 years.
That's perfectly safe. He's not getting fired.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a 0% chance he gets fired.
Hicks has his radar up.
Yeah, my radar. Yeah.
What's the
you guys have him as perfectly safe? Like he just. It's all a bed of roses for Adam
he's not been perfect, but he's not getting fired. He hasn't done anything worthy
I don't think
of
he's
being
getting fired either.
You want to go back to the Bruce Allen, Vinny Serrato years?
Again, I talked about this the other day. I love the fact that they finally brought a real legitimate GM who seems to know what he's doing to run the football side of the operations.
Where are your biggest beefs?
Well, the Lattimore trade.
Okay, Lattimore, beyond Lattimore.
Miss.
I guess kicker. You're going to probably complain about kicker. They've mowed through kickers.
Kicker, they just can't get right.
Right.
I mean, they've had, eight kickers already?
That's it. That's fair. It's fair.
And then maybe some whiffs on some draft.
Some of the second-round picks are just whiffs so far. Sinnott, I'm sorry, that guy's a whiff. And Johnny Newton, not very impactful, second-round pick.
Johnny Newton's a depth guy, but he hasn't been great.
Did they trade up to get Newton? Didn't they move? I think they moved up to get Newton.
I think Newton slid, too, though. It might be a combo, but...
He was sliding down, and they loved him. So I think I'll double check that.
He was
but I think
coming
they moved
off an injury,
up to get him. Yeah, I can't put him in perfectly safe.
People also loved the Eckler signing. They, you can't take those things away. But he brought in Eckler. He brought in Debo. They liked Jeremy Chin when he brought him in last year. They liked signing Mariota. It was like the perfect backup for. He's done a lot of good things.
Sure, that's why I say perfectly safe. If next year is a disaster and they have an old roster and it gets hurt and all these sort of things, then I would train my guns on him. But I feel like this year has just been a lot of bad breaks.
It's been a lot of injuries.
I mean, the biggest one is when your quarterback is on the field. When you start a quarterback's on the field for a half of the games, you're generally not going to win. If you took Matthew Stafford off of the Rams, they're not 8-2. If he misses half the games.
I would have him as the first guy in the radar is up list. He would be above Nick Caserio from the Houston Texans. I can't believe you guys are just giving him a complete pass.
That's not about giving him a complete pass.
And by the way, the Houston Texans went to back-to-back playoffs and had a win in each of the playoff years. And he's on the radar's up list.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't know anything about those guys.
But he's also been around a long time, right?
I think he's probably been in Houston for, 3, 4, maybe even 5 years at this point.
I mean, this was supposed to be a rebuild.
I understand.
By year 2 of a rebuild, people don't have these great expectations. Last year changed the equation. Jaden Daniels changed the equation. But you have to give him credit for last year. Now, this year's gone bad, but let's look at the pieces. And I think if you systematically look at the pieces, I think he's done a pretty good job. I'd give him a grade of B on the draft.
JP, you're the first person to say the season's circumstances change. And the circumstances change.
What's your grade for him on draft?
On draft?
Yes.
C.
Okay. And what's your grade on him on trades? Those are the two.
C minus.
Okay.
C?
So which tier do you put him in?
I think the microscope should be on Adam Peters.
Radar's up.
Yes.
Your radar's up, guy.
Radar antenna. The antenna is swirling right now.
Yeah, I'm not saying he needs to call Metropolitan Moving and Storage, start getting all his stuff in a truck, but people are starting to look at him with a more critical eye.
Yeah,
I think,
I think people should be critical of these moves, and not every move that he makes is golden. I think
Nobody's saying that. I'm not saying that.
Within the first year, it was.
I'm with EB. I think he's perfectly safe. It's year 2 of a rebuild, and
I think he's hit about 80+%.
Yeah,
if not more. I mean, I don't know. What do you want to expect? You expect it to never miss?
Well, GMs don't get fired after 2. I realize that, but I think people should be skeptical of moves that he's making and the roster that he's built.
Well, what's your biggest beef?
My biggest beef? Well, there's a lot of beefs that I have.
What's your biggest?
Well, going all in to try and stop the Eagles and then neglecting everything else on the defense. Having 31
how can you say
roster players next year after everyone's going to have to be a free agent?
How can you say they neglected the defense when they drafted Trey Amos and they signed Javon Kinlaw? You could say that those were bad moves, but
no,
they tried to address the secondary with Amos, high draft pick, and that seems to be a hit. And they tried to beef up the defensive line by signing Kinlaw.
Well, maybe there's other free agents you could go after besides that. Everyone said the team just needs to get over the hump in Philly to reach the Super Bowl. And I think you've neglected other parts of the defense because you've gone all in on the defensive line.
How did the Ravens do without Lamar Jackson under center?
Well, they won against Tyler Huntley.
They won one game, but how did they do overall with Lamar Jackson not playing?
1-3. So is that just the excuse for everything? It
is the biggest factor. It's the biggest factor in the NFL. If your starting quarterback as a franchise quarterback is not available, you generally don't win games. The Ravens are an example of that. So I do give them a little bit of a pass this year. My radar would be up next year if next year tanks. But I think perfectly safe.
Well, the Ravens started 1-4 with Lamar Jackson starting the season. So
I know that, but when you don't have your starting quarterback,
okay, there's 21 other players you got to go put out there. JP.
Also,
I think he's done a pretty good job. I'd grade him higher than you. You think he's doing a crappy job.
This will play out over time as well. But if Drake May keeps ascending and Jaden has a hard time staying on the field,
that's another thing,
and doesn't keep climbing,
they can both be very, very good, which I think is going to be the case.
I think that is going to be. I'm a Jaden guy, but if Drake May becomes like the best quarterback in the league, and Jaden is like the 9th or 10th best quarterback in the league in a couple years, that's going to be another tick mark against one Adam Peters.
Of course, the Jaden pick was going to define his job more than anything else.
Totally.
It's his first major decision as a general manager, and it is a career-defining decision.
It absolutely is.
1-800-636-1067. We got to go to break. We'll take your calls next. Where do you grade Adam Peters a year and a half in as general manager?